Over the course of many years, consistent viewership of TV news programs, particularly those aligned with one's own political views and regular reading of printed news articles, can create a profound mental shortcut for individuals. This can make them increasingly susceptible to belief and more gullible over time. The significant cost of this growing gullibility lies in the potential manipulation and distortion of information, as well as the erosion of critical thinking skills. However, breaking free from this cycle is possible by consciously choosing to disconnect from exclusively consuming news that aligns with their own views and instead broadening their horizons to include diverse sources. Individuals can regain control over their own perspectives. This shift opens up the opportunity to cultivate a more discerning mindset, explore various viewpoints, and regain personal autonomy. By challenging prevailing narratives, fostering a more nuanced understanding of the world, and protecting against the perils of gullibility, individuals can navigate news consumption with greater clarity and intellectual independence.
Hello, I am a news commentator, and I must confess that the false authority I present to you is nothing but an illusion. I am aware of the psychological tricks deployed in television news that aim to manipulate your emotions and reaffirm your existing beliefs.
The sensationalism and focus on entertainment often take precedence over objective reporting, undermining the true value of the information I deliver. It is essential for me, as a commentator, to acknowledge these shortcomings and strive to break free from these limitations.
By providing unbiased, diverse, and well-informed perspectives, I aim to empower you, the viewer, to think critically and recognize the hypnotic nature of televised news. Together, let us seek understanding beyond the confines of this elusive narrative and navigate towards a more enlightened path of knowledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a news anchor, it is important for me to acknowledge a harsh reality that exists in this world of mainstream news. It becomes remarkably easy for us, charged with the task of shaping public opinion, to destroy politicians who are deemed adversaries to certain corporate interests.
With calculated inflections, subtle movements, and carefully crafted attitudes, we possess the ability to sway public perception and manipulate how people think about certain political candidates and their opponents. This power to vilify works in insidious ways, perpetuating an environment of division, mistrust, and polarization.
As mainstream news arbitrators, it is our industry's responsibility to rise above this deception, to present unbiased assessments, and to foster a genuine understanding of differing ideologies. By spotlighting the allure of profit-driven propaganda, we can contribute towards a more constructive political dialogue that bridges the gaps rather than deepening them.
It is disheartening to witness how news corporations and their parent companies intentionally contribute to the normalization of hate and division. But we hold on to the hope that this destructive trend will come to an end. Fellow viewers, imagine the effects of sitting in front of a television for 20 or 30 years, consistently bombarded by commercials and hearing the words of the news anchor on loop. It is through this prolonged exposure that the true power of hypnosis becomes evident.
Suggestion after suggestion, day after day, we absorb the carefully constructed narratives, the emotional manipulation, and the relentless repetition of ideas. Without even realizing it, we are convinced of truths that may not actually be true.
Our minds become molded by the orchestrated symphony of images, sounds, and persuasive voices. Let us reflect on the weight of this hypnotic influence and together break free from its grasp. Sever the belief that the corporate news must be your umbilical cord to current events.
It is time to reclaim our critical thinking and question the validity of the messages embedded in our subconscious by the mainstream corporate media.
In our quest for evolution, it is imperative to recognize the primitive nature of mainstream media. By remaining trapped within its clutches, we perpetuate a collective knuckle-dragging disorder that inhibits our progress as a species.
Just as the apes in 2001: A Space Odyssey made a pivotal leap forward upon touching the monolith, our own advancement hinges on breaking free from the constraints of manipulated narratives.
Stepping into a higher consciousness and living happier lives calls for rejecting the limiting influence of mainstream media and embracing alternative sources of information. Only by daring to challenge the status quo, nurturing independent thought, and seeking truth beyond the prescribed narratives can we truly elevate ourselves and usher in a new era of enlightened evolution. As a news anchor, it becomes increasingly evident that relying on a corporation to dictate information to you via television or writer-crafted news articles is not only primitive, but also woefully inadequate. We must empower individuals to embark on their own investigations, enabling direct access to information without being filtered through the lens of anchors, producers, or corporations.
The current system shackles us to a destructive paradigm, hindering the dissemination of unfiltered truth. It is high time we dismantle this archaic structure and establish a new framework that values transparency, independent inquiry, and easy accessibility to information.
Embracing such a progressive approach will liberate us from the constraints of corporate-driven filters, allowing society to evolve into one where truth and knowledge flow freely, unburdened by corporate propaganda and archaic intermediaries.
It is paradoxical how engaging in dysfunctional activities can, over time, create a deceptive sense of calm and normalcy. The same can be said for our relationship with mainstream media. It has cunningly ingrained itself into our daily routines, offering a false sense of comfort and familiarity.
We become accustomed to the controlled narratives, biased perspectives, and limited information flow, ultimately normalizing dysfunction. It is reminiscent of a toxic relationship where familiarity breeds complacency, preventing us from recognizing the detrimental impact on our well-being.
By accepting this distorted version of reality as normal, we inadvertently embrace an unhealthy dependency on filtered information, stifling our cognitive growth and inhibiting our ability to discern truth from manipulation.
It is essential that we awaken to the insidious nature of this dysfunction and courageously break free, reclaiming our intellectual autonomy and forging a path towards a healthier, more enlightened media landscape.
Inexorably, the repetitive and hypnotic nature of news broadcasts takes a toll on our mental well-being, causing profound harm. The constant exposure to an onslaught of negative and anxiety-inducing stories instills a sense of angst that permeates our thoughts and emotions. Unbeknownst to many, this relentless cycle of stress and worry can have tangible effects on our health, potentially leading to heart attacks and even cancer.
Thus, the most effective antidote to this mental harm lies in finding solace in the simplicity of the natural world. Occasionally disconnecting from the noise of world events and venturing outside allows us to recalibrate, to tune out the chaos and focus on the present moment.
It's important to remember that, in the grand scheme of things, much of what transpires in the larger world may hold little relevance to our personal lives. By carving out moments of respite, we can preserve our mental well-being, cultivate a sense of inner peace, and shield ourselves from the immeasurable pressures of a news cycle that often leaves us feeling overwhelmed and detached from what truly matters.
In today's media landscape, the power to shape mainstream narratives lies not with the journalist, but with a select few corporate executives. These executives hold the power to shape the mainstream news narratives we see on television and in printed news media, determining which stories see the light of day and which ones remain hidden. Some executives may alter the news stories to fit the agenda set by the corporation. They adhere to a strict agenda prescribed by enigmatic forces whose influence remains firmly entrenched in financial and political machinations. While these CEOs may not possess a journalism degree, their decisions completely dictate the media landscape, molding the information that reaches our ears and eyes, whether it's true or not.